Ji-sun wiped sweat from her forehead as she tightened the last bolt on the combat mech's knee joint. The massive machine towered above her small frame, a giant of metal and power. At 19 years old, she was the youngest maintenance worker in the Neos colony defense hangar. Done already. The old voice belonged to Tahoe, the only person on the entire colony who treated her like she mattered. Yes, sir. Ji-sun stood up and gathered her tools. I fixed the joint issue. It should move smoothly now. Tahoe nodded, his wrinkled face breaking into a smile. Faster than anyone else. As usual, the aliens would be shocked to see a tiny human girl fixing their war machines. Ji-sun didn't smile back. Being small, even for a human, was why people looked down on her. In a galaxy where strength mattered most, humans were already considered weak. Ji-sun was weaker still. Time to go home, Tahoe said. Big inspection tomorrow. Commander Du-jin himself is coming. You go ahead. I need to check something else. Ji-sun kept her voice steady, hiding her real plans. After Tahoe left, Ji-sun looked around the empty hangar, heart racing. She climbed up to the cockpit of a training mech. This was her secret. Every night after work, she used the simulator programs to practice piloting. It was against the rules. Maintenance workers weren't allowed to touch the pilot controls, especially humans. The simulator hummed to life. Ji-sun's fingers flew across the control panel, starting her favorite battle scenario. The neural helmet lowered onto her head, and suddenly she wasn't small anymore. She was 10 meters tall, powerful, deadly. In the simulation, 3 enemy ships attacked. Ji-sun moved her mech with grace that even the alien pilots couldn't match. She didn't just fight, she danced. Where others relied on strength, she used speed and smart thinking. The simulator flashed with each successful hit. Final score, 98.7%. New record. The computer's voice announced as the simulation ended. Ji-sun smiled. If only they could see what she could do. But they never would. The Galactic Confederation had clear rules about who could pilot combat mechs, and tiny human girls from nowhere colonies weren't on that list. She climbed down from the cockpit, tired but happy. Tomorrow would be back to tightening bolts and being invisible. The next day, the hangar buzzed with activity. Alien officers from the Confederation walked among the mechs, their tall bodies making even the adult human workers look like children. Ji-sun stayed in the shadows, doing her job quietly. What's the status on Unit 7? A deep voice asked nearby. Knee joint was fixed yesterday, Commander, said the head engineer. One of our maintenance workers handled it. Ji-sun kept her head down as Commander Du-jin approached. He was human, but unlike her. Tall, strong, respected. One of the few humans to reach high rank in the Confederation forces. Good work, Du-jin said, then paused. What's this? Ji-sun's heart stopped. The commander was looking at a data pad showing last night's simulator logs. Someone used the combat simulator last night, Du-jin said, his voice sharp. Who has access after hours? The hangar went quiet. Ji-sun wanted to disappear. These scores, Du-jin continued, eyes widening. They're higher than any I've seen from our cadets. Who did this? The head engineer looked confused. Must be a system error, sir. No one uses the simulators after hours. Ji-sun took a deep breath. Her secret was about to be discovered anyway. She stepped forward. It was me, sir. All eyes turned to her. The aliens looked amused. Some humans looked embarrassed for her. You? Commander Du-jin's eyebrows rose. A maintenance worker? Yes, sir. I'm sorry for breaking the rules. Ji-sun stood straight, trying to look taller than her small frame allowed. Instead of anger, curiosity filled the commander's eyes. He looked at the data pad again, then at Ji-sun. What's your name, girl? Ji-sun, sir. Du-jin nodded slowly. Ji-sun, report to my shuttle in 1 hour. Bring your things. Sir? Ji-sun's voice shook. Those simulator scores were impossible, he said. I want to see what else is impossible about you. Ji-sun stood before Commander Du-jin's shuttle, clutching her small bag of belongings. Her hands shook. Was she in trouble? Would she be punished for using the simulators without permission? The shuttle door opened with a hiss. Inside, Du-jin sat reviewing data on a large screen. He motioned for her to enter. Sit down, he said, his voice neither angry nor kind. Ji-sun obeyed, perching on the edge of a seat designed for someone twice her size. I've been checking your simulator logs from the past 6 months, Du-jin said. You've been doing this every night. Yes, sir. There was no point in lying. Why? Ji-sun looked down. Because I wanted to know what it felt like to be strong. Du-jin's expression softened slightly. These scores aren't about strength. They're about skill, reaction time, and spatial awareness. Things that matter more than raw power. He tapped the screen, bringing up a chart comparing Ji-sun's scores to those of top pilots. Her line was consistently higher. The aliens think humans are weak, Du-jin continued. They let us join their confederation because we're good at fixing things and thinking of new ideas, but they don't respect us as warriors. Ji-sun nodded. This was common knowledge on Neos. I've been running a special program, Du-jin said, training humans to become combat pilots by using our natural advantages. We can't overpower them, but we can outthink them. He stood up and walked to a window, looking out at the colony. I want you to join this program. Ji-sun couldn't believe what she was hearing. Me? But I'm just a maintenance worker. Who has the highest simulator scores I've ever seen? Du-jin replied. The question is, do you want to be more than a person who fixes machines? Ji-sun's heart raced. This was everything she had dreamed of but never thought possible. Yes, she said. More than anything. Du-jin nodded. Pack your things. We leave for Axiom in 1 hour. 3 days later, Ji-sun walked through the massive halls of the Confederation Academy on the central world of Axiom. Everything was bigger here, built to accommodate the many alien species that made up the Confederation. Ji-sun felt even smaller than usual. A group of human cadets marched past, all tall and fit, with perfect postures. They stared at Ji-sun with obvious confusion. She didn't look like a cadet. She didn't even look like she belonged in the same building as the cadets. An instructor, a tall human woman named Captain Sun Young, led Ji-sun to the training area. Commander Du-jin has given you special entry into our program, Captain Sun Young said, her voice cold. That doesn't mean you'll survive it. Most cadets wash out in the first month. Ji-sun nodded. I understand. Your first test is today, a standard simulator run. We need to verify your scores weren't a fluke. The training room was filled with other cadets, all watching as Ji-sun was directed to a simulator pod. Their faces showed a mix of curiosity and scorn. One cadet, taller than the rest, stepped forward. This is a joke, right? She looks like she belongs in a children's school, not a combat academy. This is Ji-sun, Captain Sun Young announced. Commander Du-jin has recruited her directly. Jun-suk, since you're our star cadet, perhaps you'd like to set the benchmark for today's test. Jun-suk smiled confidently. Gladly. He entered the first pod and completed the simulation in impressive time. When he emerged, the score flashed on the screen. 89.4%. The other cadets applauded. Your turn, Captain Sun Young said to Ji-sun. Ji-sun climbed into the pod, feeling everyone's doubtful eyes on her. The familiar neural helmet lowered onto her head. This simulator was newer than the one on Neos, but the principles were the same. The simulation began. Ji-sun let her instincts take over. Her hands moved with precision, her mind calculating angles and speeds faster than she could consciously track. When she finished and climbed out, the room was silent. On the screen, her score glowed. 97.8%. Captain Sun Young's mouth fell open. Jun-suk's face darkened with anger. Beginner's luck, he muttered. Du-jin, who had been watching from the back of the room, stepped forward with a smile. "No," he said. "This is the future of human combat pilots." Ji-sun woke before dawn, her muscles screaming in pain. After 2 weeks at the academy, she still wasn't used to the brutal physical training. Today would be another day of push-ups, runs, and strength exercises designed for bodies much larger than hers. She dragged herself to the washing area. Most cadets were still asleep, but one other girl was already there. Han-mi, the only other female in their training group, nodded at Ji-sun. "Early again," Han-mi said, splashing water on her face. "Can't sleep," Ji-sun replied. "Too sore." Han-mi smiled. "Me too, but it gets easier." Unlike the others, Han-mi had been kind to Ji-sun from the start. She wasn't from a military family either. She had been a farm worker before joining the academy. "Ready for neural connection training today?" Han-mi asked. Ji-sun's stomach tightened. Today they would attempt their first real neural link with a mech. Simulators were one thing, but actual neural connection was different. The strain could cause brain damage if a cadet couldn't handle it. "As ready as I'll ever be," Ji-sun said. At the training hall, 20 mech units stood in a row. They were training models, smaller than battle mechs, but still 5 times taller than a human. Captain Sun Young stood before them with a stern face. "Today separates real pilots from pretenders," she announced. "Neural connection requires both mental strength and physical endurance. Many of you will fail." Ji-sun felt eyes on her. Jun-suk and his friends were staring, smirking. Since her high simulator score, they had made her life miserable, hiding her gear, pushing her in the hallways, whispering "weak girl" whenever instructors weren't looking. "First group, to your mechs," Captain Sun Young ordered. Ji-sun climbed up to her assigned unit. The neural helmet hung above the pilot's seat, its connection prongs gleaming under the lights. She sat down and took a deep breath as the helmet lowered onto her head. Sharp pain shot through her skull as the neural links connected. Ji-sun gasped. It felt like burning needles in her brain. Through watering eyes, she saw other cadets in similar pain. Some were already tapping out, unable to bear it. "Synchronize with your mech," Captain Sun Young's voice came through the comms. "Feel its limbs as your own." Ji-sun focused through the pain. Slowly, she began to sense the mech's body. Massive arms and legs extending beyond her own. It was both terrifying and wonderful. "Now stand." Ji-sun willed the mech to move. It responded instantly, rising smoothly while others jerked and stumbled. The pain in her head lessened as the connection strengthened. "Walk forward 10 steps, then return." Ji-sun moved her mech with surprising ease. It felt natural, like the machine was truly part of her. When she returned to the starting position, Captain Sun Young was staring at her with wide eyes. "Exceptional connection ratio," the captain muttered, checking her readings. "Almost perfect synchronization on first attempt." Jun-suk, in the mech next to hers, was breathing hard, sweat pouring down his face. His mech moved jerkily, fighting his commands. After the session, Dr. Yoon, the neuroscience officer, called Ji-sun to his lab. He showed her a scan of her brain during the connection. "You have a rare neural pattern," he explained. "Your brain processes the mech interface more efficiently than standard human patterns. I've never seen readings like this." "Is that good?" Ji-sun asked. "It's extraordinary," Dr. Yoon replied. "But others will be jealous. Be careful." That night, as Ji-sun prepared for bed, she found her neural helmet from training. Someone had tampered with it, breaking one of the safety limiters. If she had used it for a second session, it might have caused permanent damage. A note was attached. "Go home, weak girl." Ji-sun didn't report it. Instead, she fixed the helmet herself, using the skills she had learned as a maintenance worker. Then she placed it on Jun-suk's shelf with her own note. "Fix this for you. It was broken." The next morning, Jun-suk's face was a mix of confusion and shame when he saw her. Ji-sun met his eyes calmly. This was just the beginning of her fight, and she didn't intend to lose. 3 months passed. Ji-sun grew stronger every day. Her body, once small and weak, now moved with purpose. She wasn't as big as the other cadets, but she was fast and skilled. The morning started like any other. Ji-sun and Han-mi jogged around the training field, their breath making small clouds in the cold air. Even Jun-suk had stopped bothering Ji-sun, focusing instead on trying to beat her scores. Then the alarms sounded. Red lights flashed across the academy. Cadets stopped mid-exercise, looking around in confusion. "This is not a drill," Captain Sun Young's voice came over the speakers. "All advanced cadets report to the main hangar immediately." Ji-sun and Han-mi exchanged worried looks before running to the hangar. Inside, chaos ruled. Officers shouted orders as technicians prepared transport ships and combat mechs. Commander Du Jin stood on a platform, his face grim. Once all cadets had gathered, he spoke. "At 600 hours, we received a distress call from Outpost 7, a human settlement on the edge of Confederation space. They are under attack." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Attacks on Confederation settlements were rare. "The enemy has been identified as the Krav," Du Jin continued. The hangar went silent. Everyone had heard stories about the Krav, a mysterious alien species that appeared without warning, destroyed everything, and vanished again. Most people thought they were just stories. "With most senior pilots deployed elsewhere, we are mobilizing all available forces, including advanced cadets," Du Jin said. "This is not a training exercise. This is war." Ji-sun's heart hammered in her chest. War. They were still students. "The following cadets will pilot combat mechs as part of the response team." Du Jin read from a list. Jun-suk, Han-mi, Ta-min, Sun-ho, and Ji-sun. Ji-sun froze. Her name was on the list. She would pilot a real combat mech. 2 hours later, Ji-sun sat in the cockpit of a Mark 7 combat mech aboard a transport ship heading for Outpost 7. The neural connection was stronger than in training units, the mech's systems more powerful. 5 other ships traveled with them, carrying more mechs and soldiers. Scared, Jun-suk asked from the mech next to hers. "Yes," Ji-sun admitted. There was no point in lying. "Good," he said. "Only fools aren't scared before battle." It was the nicest thing he had ever said to her. Captain Sun Young's voice came through the comms. "We'll reach Outpost 7 in 20 minutes. Senior officers will leave the assault. Cadets will." A massive explosion rocked the ship. Warning alarms blared. "We're under attack," the pilot shouted. Krav ships came out of nowhere. Another explosion hit. Ji-sun watched in horror as 2 transport ships exploded. Through the viewport, she saw strange-looking ships, black and spiky, firing at their convoy. "Engine hit. We're going down," the pilot yelled. "Brace for impact." The ship crashed onto the planet's surface. Ji-sun's head hit the side of the cockpit. When she opened her eyes, smoke filled the air. The neural connection to her mech had gone offline. "Report," she called, disconnecting from the helmet. No answer. Ji-sun climbed out of her mech. The ship's hull was torn open. Bodies lay everywhere, including Captain Sun Young and all senior officers. Dead. "Anyone alive?" Ji-sun called, coughing in the smoke. "Here," came Jun-suk's voice. He limped toward her, blood on his face. "Han-mi is hurt but alive. Sun-ho too." "The officers?" Jun-suk shook his head. "All gone." Ji-sun looked outside through the torn hull. They had crashed in a forest, about 10 kilometers from Outpost 7 according to her nav system. In the distance, she saw smoke rising from where the outpost should be. "What do we do?" Han-mi asked, appearing behind Jun-suk, holding her injured arm. Everyone looked at Ji-sun. Somehow, in this moment of crisis, they were turning to her, the smallest, the outsider, the one who had been an outcast just months ago. Ji-sun took a deep breath. "We fix what mechs we can," she said. And then we saved those people. Ji-sun wiped sweat from her eyes as she worked. Her hands moved quickly, connecting broken wires inside her mech's control panel. Around her, the other cadets followed her instructions, repairing what they could with limited tools. 3 mechs working, Jun-suk reported. Mine, yours, and Hanmi's. The others are 2 damaged. Jae-sun nodded. It will have to be enough. She climbed up to check the communication system. Nothing but static. They were on their own. I've been watching the outpost through the scopes, Sunho said. The Krav are still there. They're hunting people, house by house. Ji-sun's stomach tightened. The academy had taught them combat tactics, but nothing specific about fighting Krav. No one knew much about them. We need a plan, she said, jumping down from the mech. The others gathered around her. Even Jun-suk, who once mocked her at every chance, waited for her words. Standard protocol says we should wait for backup, Ta-min said. There won't be backup in time, Jae-sun replied. Not for those people. She drew a simple map in the dirt. The outpost has 3 main sections. From what Sunho saw, the Krav are moving in a pattern, section by section. We could attack from behind, Jun-suk suggested. Hit them while they're focused on the colony. Ji-sun shook her head. That's what they'd expect. Standard tactics. She thought about the maintenance work she used to do, how systems connected. The Krav moved too perfectly together, almost like. Like what? Hanmi asked. Like they share information instantly, like a network. Ji-sun's mind raced. If they're networked, they have a weakness. She explained her plan. It was risky and broke every rule they'd been taught. But no one argued. An hour later, 3 combat mechs approached Outpost 7. The settlement was partly in flames. Black, insect-like Krav soldiers moved between buildings, their movements eerily coordinated. Remember, Ji-sun said through the comm, we're not fighting the way they expect humans to fight. Instead of charging in, the 3 mechs split up. Ji-sun moved to the east side of the settlement. She had modified her mech's communication system to broadcast a special signal, one that might interfere with whatever the Krav used to coordinate. She took a deep breath and activated the signal. The effect was instant. Several Krav soldiers stopped moving, their limbs twitching strangely. Others seemed confused, turning in circles. It's working, Ji-sun called. Move in now. Jun-suk's mech charged from the west, weapons firing. The Krav tried to respond, but their perfect coordination was broken. They fired at each other as often as at Jun-suk. Ji-sun pushed her mech forward, using buildings for cover. Her smaller size, once a disadvantage, now let her move where larger pilots couldn't. She picked off confused Krav soldiers one by one. Han-mei protected a group of colonists who were running toward the forest. Her mech stood like a shield between them and the enemy. Then Ji-sun saw it, a larger Krav, different from the others. While the rest were black, this one had red markings, and the Krav near it seemed less affected by her signal. The leader, she called. Jun-suk, target the red one. Jun-suk turned his mech, but a group of Krav soldiers swarmed him, climbing up the metal legs of his machine. Ji-sun pushed her mech to full speed, rushing to help, but she was too far. Han-mei, the red one, Ji-sun shouted. Han-mi turned her mech, taking aim at the red Krav. But as she fired, other Krav shot back. Her mech's chest plate exploded. Han-mei screamed over the comm. Han-mi. Ji-sun cried out. I'm hit. Bad. Han-mi gasped. But I got it. I got the red one. The red Krav fell. Instantly, the remaining Krav soldiers seemed even more confused. Some dropped their weapons. Others fired randomly. Ji-sun reached Jun-suk, helping clear the Krav from his mech. Together, they drove back the remaining enemies. As the last Krav retreated, Ji-sun rushed to Han-mi's damaged mech. The cockpit was crushed, leaking blood. Stay with me, Ji-sun begged, pulling Han Mi from the wreckage. Help is coming. Han Mi's eyes fluttered. Did we win? Yes, Ji-sun said, tears in her eyes. We won because of you. In the distance, Confederation ships appeared in the sky. Help had finally arrived. But Ji-sun knew something had changed forever. This wasn't about simulator scores anymore. This was about life and death, and the strange new way she had found to fight. 2 weeks after the battle at Outpost 7, Ji-sun stood at attention in the main hall of Confederation headquarters. The massive room was filled with military leaders from all species. Tall, blue-skinned Archeans stood next to bulky, four-armed Tellurians. Human officers looked small among them. Ji-sun felt even smaller. Her Kadic uniform had been replaced with a formal one, but it still hung loose on her frame. Cadet Ji-sun stepped forward, called the High Commander, a giant Archean with medals covering his chest. Ji-sun moved to the center of the room. Whispers followed her. Everyone had heard about the battle now, how 3 human cadets had held off a Krav attack that should have killed them all. Your actions at Outpost 7 were, the High Commander paused, unusual. Ji-sun kept her face blank. She knew what unusual meant coming from him. It meant against protocol. It meant human thinking. You modified Confederation equipment without authorization, he continued. You ignored standard battle tactics. You endangered fellow cadets. The room was silent now. Ji-sun saw Commander Du-jin watching from the side, his face tense. However, the High Commander said grudgingly, you also saved 43 civilian lives, and you provided the first useful intelligence on Krav battle coordination. He looked down at her, his alien eyes unreadable. The Confederation Council is divided on how to respond to your actions. Some call for punishment, others for reward. Ji-sun held her breath. Next to her, in the front row, sat Han Mi in a hover chair. Her friend had survived but would need months of healing. Chum-suk stood at attention nearby, his face showing a new respect Ji-sun never thought she'd see. Commander Du-jin stepped forward. High Commander, if I may. The High Commander nodded. Cadet Ji-sun's approach, using the Krav's network communication against them, has been analyzed by our best tacticians, Du-jin said. We've developed a new combat system based on her insights. He activated a hologram showing battle simulations. Standard tactics against the Krav have a 17% success rate. Using Ji-sun's approach, success rates increased to 64%. The alien officers murmured among themselves. Numbers were hard to argue with, even for those who looked down on humans. What do you propose? Asked the High Commander. A new unit, Du-jin replied. A human squad specifically trained to counter the Krav threat using these unconventional tactics, with Ji-sun as squad leader. The room erupted in protest. An Archean general's voice rose above the others. A cadet as squad leader, a human girl. Absurd. Ji-sun didn't flinch. She was used to being underestimated. The High Commander raised a hand for silence. Commander Du-jin, this girl has barely completed basic training. Yet she defeated a Krav attack force. Du-jin replied simply. The High Commander studied Ji-sun for a long moment. Very well. A trial period. 3 months. If this human approach proves effective, the unit becomes permanent. He looked directly at Ji-sun. You are promoted to lieutenant. Choose your team and name your unit. Ji-sun saluted, her heart racing. Thank you, High Commander. Later, as Ji-sun left the hall, Chum-suk stopped her. I've requested transfer to a frontline unit, he said stiffly. Ji-sun looked at him in surprise. Why not join my team? Because you don't need me, he said. And I need to prove myself my own way. He hesitated, then added, I was wrong about you, Ji-sun. I won't make that mistake again. After he left, Ji-sun visited Han Mi in medical bay. I heard, Han Mi said, smiling weakly. Lieutenant Ji-sun, commander of a new unit. They're calling it an experiment, Ji-sun replied. The aliens think we'll fail. What will you name the unit? Han Mei asked. Ji-sun remembered how they had appeared and disappeared in the battle, hitting the Krav where they least expected. Phantom Unit, she said. And I want you on the team when you're healed. Han Mei grinned. Try to keep me away. That night, Ji-sun stood at the window of her new quarters, looking at the stars. 3 months to prove that humans could fight in their own way. 3 months to show the galaxy that being small didn't mean being weak. The challenge was enormous, but for the first time in her life, Ji-sun wasn't facing it alone. Again, Ji-sun ordered. Faster this time. 6 pilots in training mechs moved through the practice field. Each pilot was small for a human, like Ji-sun. Each had been rejected from standard training programs for being too weak or too small. But each had the same rare neural pattern that Ji-sun possessed. Min-ho, a skinny boy from a mining colony, was the fastest. His mech spun and dodged between targets with incredible speed. Sun-hee, once a dancer, made her mech move with perfect balance. 4 others showed similar unique skills. Time. Ji-sun called. All 6 mechs stopped instantly. Perfect control. 2 seconds faster than yesterday, Ji-sun said. Not enough. From the observation deck, alien officers watched with doubt in their eyes. One Tellurian officer laughed openly. The human liability. He called the team. The name had spread throughout the Confederation forces. Ji-sun ignored them. After a month of training her new unit, she was used to the mockery. It only made her push harder. Take a break, she told her team. 10 minutes. As the pilots rested, Ji-sun studied the battle data on her tablet. The Krav had attacked 3 more outposts since Outpost 7. Each time, conventional forces had struggled to defeat them. Her team needed to be ready when the next attack came. But standard training methods weren't enough. They needed something different, something human. That evening, Ji-sun visited the Academy Library. She searched through old Earth records, looking for inspiration. Her eyes fell on a file about ancient Korean martial arts. The description caught her attention. The art of using an opponent's strength against them. Ji-sun downloaded everything she could find. She stayed up all night reading about techniques where smaller fighters could defeat larger ones by redirecting energy instead of meeting it head-on. The next morning, she gathered her team. We're trying to fight like them, she said. That's our mistake. We need to fight like us. She showed them the ancient fighting techniques. Our ancestors created these methods thousands of years ago. Small humans defeating larger opponents by using the opponent's own strength. But we're in mechs, Min-ho pointed out. How does this help? The principle is the same, Ji-sun explained. Instead of blocking a Krav attack, we redirect it. Instead of charging forward, we pull them off balance. She demonstrated with a small model mech. When a Krav charges, you step aside and use its momentum to throw it down. You use less energy, but cause more damage. For the next 2 weeks, Ji-sun redesigned their training. She programmed the simulators with new movement patterns based on the ancient martial arts. The team practiced dodging instead of blocking, circular movements instead of straight attacks, and quick strikes to vulnerable points instead of head-on assaults. The alien officers laughed even harder. They're dancing, not fighting, one commented. But Commander Du Jin watched with growing interest. After one session, he approached Ji-sun. Your methods are unusual, he said, but your team's efficiency scores are improving. Thank you, sir, Ji-sun replied. But simulations aren't enough. We need real combat experience. Du Jin nodded. There's a small Krav scouting party detected near Outpost 3. Nothing major, but enough to test your unit's capabilities. Ji-sun's heart raced. When do we deploy? Tomorrow. 600 hours. Du Jin looked directly at her. This is your chance, Lieutenant. Make it count. The next morning, Phantom Unit loaded into their transport ship. Han Mei, finally recovered from her injuries, joined them as communications officer. She couldn't pilot yet, but Ji-sun wanted her friend with them. Nervous? Han Mei asked, as the ship took off. Yes, Jae-sun admitted. Good, Hanmi smiled. Only fools aren't nervous before battle. Jae-sun recognized Jun-suk's words from their first mission. So much had changed since then. She had changed. As the ship entered jump space, Jae-sun addressed her team. They call us the human liability, she said. Today we show them what humans can really do. 6 faces looked back at her with determination. They might be small, they might be underestimated, but they were ready to fight their own way. The human way. Phantom Unit, you are clear to engage. Commander Du Jin's voice came through the communication system. Jae-sun led her team toward the small Krav force that had been detected near Outpost 3. Their mission against the scouting party had been a complete success. No casualties, all Krav eliminated, no damage to their mechs. That was 2 months ago. Now Phantom Unit was no longer mocked. 6 successful missions had turned the human liability into something else entirely. Some called them the Ghost Team because they appeared and disappeared so quickly. Others simply called them the Humans, with new respect in their voices. Targets ahead, Min-ho reported. 12 Krav scouts, standard formation. Remember the plan, Jae-sun said to her team. Draw them in, break their pattern, take them down. The 6 mechs spread out in a circle. When the Krav spotted them, they charged forward in perfect unison. To anyone watching, it looked like the human mechs were about to be overwhelmed. But at the last moment, the human pilots moved as one. They stepped aside like dancers, letting the Krav rush past. As each Krav tried to correct its course, the human mechs struck at key joints and weak points. Within minutes, the Krav force lay defeated. Not one human mech had taken serious damage. Target eliminated, Jae-sun reported, returning to base. The flight back to headquarters was quiet. Jae-sun's mind was elsewhere. Intelligence reports were showing increased Krav activity throughout Confederation space. Small attacks had become more frequent. Something bigger was coming. When they arrived, Commander Du Jin was waiting for them. Good work, Phantom Unit, he said. But I need you in the war room immediately. Inside the war room, holograms showed Confederation space. A large red cluster blinked near the outer rim. Our long-range scanners have detected a massive Krav fleet assembling here, Du Jin explained. Over 200 ships. The largest force we've ever seen. Jae-sun studied the hologram. Their target? Nexus Station, Du Jin replied. Our main shipyard and supply hub for the entire sector. Jae-sun's stomach tightened. Nexus Station was home to over 50,000 civilians, along with the Confederation's largest fleet base. We're assembling all available forces, Du Jin continued. Every combat-ready unit is being called in. Including us? Jae-sun asked. Yes, but Du Jin hesitated. The High Command wants you in a support role only. They say Phantom Unit is too small for frontline combat in a major battle. Jae-sun wanted to argue but held her tongue. Politics still mattered, even with their recent successes. We'll do whatever is needed, she said simply. 3 days later, Jae-sun sat in her mech aboard a massive Confederation carrier. Outside the viewports, hundreds of ships gathered, the largest fleet assembled in decades. Her team was positioned in the rear guard, far from the main battle area. As the fleet prepared to jump to Nexus Station, a message came through on Jae-sun's private channel. It was Jun-suk. Jae-sun, my unit is being assigned to the first attack wave, he said. I wanted to say, thank you, for showing me a different way to fight. Stay safe, Jae-sun replied. We'll see each other after the battle. The jump to Nexus Station took less than an hour. When they arrived, chaos erupted. The Krav fleet was already there, larger than even the intelligence reports had suggested. The battle began instantly. Confederation ships fired at the Krav fleet while smaller fighters and mechs launched from both sides. From her position in the rear, Jae-sun watched in horror as the Krav used new tactics, different from anything they had seen before. The Confederation's front lines were being torn apart. Lieutenant Ji-sun, Han Mei called from the communication station. I'm picking up a distress signal from the 3rd Combat Wing. That's Jun Suk's unit, Jae-sun said, her heart sinking. The message was broken, filled with static, cut off, surrounded, requesting immediate assistance. Ji-sun looked at the battle map. Jun Suk's unit was trapped behind enemy lines with no way out. No one was going to reach them in time. Unless... Phantom unit, Ji-sun called to her team. Prepare for immediate launch. But our orders, Minho began. I know our orders, Ji-sun replied. I also know we're the only ones who can save those people. She opened a channel to Commander Du-jin. Sir, requesting permission to rescue the 3rd Combat Wing. Denied, came the immediate response. Stay in position, Lieutenant. Ji-sun closed her eyes for a moment. Then she made her decision. Phantom unit, launch now.